I call to order the meeting of the Verona Common Council for Monday, July 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we'll have the roll.
Alderperson Braithwaite.
Here.
Alderperson Harrison.
Here.
Alderperson Helmke.
Here.
Alderperson Hoaxed.
Present.
Alderperson Lytle.
Here.
Alderperson Posey.
Here.
And Alderperson Tucker Long.
Here.
All right, we are down one alder, so we have a full house for us. We'll move on to item 4, which is public comment. If you are here for the District 2 alderperson appointment and you're a candidate, I would ask you speak under the item under mayor's business because you'll be given an opportunity to do so. If you're here for anything else, now is the time to speak. Or if you're a member of the public who's not applying for the District 2 alder and want to talk about it, you can do that as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lee Jordan, Executive Director of the Verona Area Chamber of Commerce. And yes, I did just get off the golf course, so I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm here in support of the event center that you'll be, I believe, discussing tonight. As not only the Chamber of Commerce, but the tourism entity for the city of Verona, we are very much in favor of this development. We think it's going to be an awesome asset for the community, not just for the people who will be coming in and using that, but for our residents as well. There aren't really any places here in town that will accommodate this many people. And I think it's been a long time overdue. I know it's been in discussions for quite some time, and we do believe that it will be overall a very good thing for the community as a whole. I know that the parking is a little bit of an issue, and as I mentioned at the Plan Commission, it's our understanding that there are some partnerships that are being discussed to handle some of those concerns about the parking. And I was just at a wedding this weekend and can attest that most people who go to a large event do not all drive their own cars. I know that you still have to account for a certain number of spaces, but most people at a big event, whether it's a conference or a wedding, actually do ride together, a good portion of them. So hopefully that'll take into a little bit of account, but we are very much in favor of this development. Thank you.
Thank you. We're still in public comment, so if any members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Hello, I'm Connor Nett with Ford Development Group, here to talk about the event center and multifamily building for Sugar Creek Commons. As Lee had mentioned, we think this will be a great addition to the Sugar Creek Commons development, as well as the overall community. Sugar Creek Commons is intended to be a vibrant mixed-use development. We've seen that really enhanced over the last couple of months with the Bogey Factory opening up, as well as PK Fitness managing the fitness facility. So those have really added to the community feel that we have there. We think the addition of the event center and the multifamily will help with additional residents to attend events at these locations, as well as help that vibrant atmosphere. There's also still vacant commercial space. Having additional uses on site will help promote those filling into the site. Touching on the parking comment that was made by Lee, based on staff feedback, we conducted a parking study for the event center or the overall development to show how the parking would kind of play out on the site. And a worst case scenario being an event of 200 attendees at a weekday conference would create about a 120 stall deficit. So we're looking at ways of sharing parking with the Sugar Creek Commons Church, the Holiday Inn, as well as others to make up that difference. The operators are here as well, and they'll talk about the shuttling, which was a big thing that we discussed last week as a way to help make sure that the site's properly parked. So they'll get to that as well. But we're trying to identify parking opportunities or that are at a walkable distance. So we're exploring that, as well as on-site commercial parking, seeing if office users, restaurant employees can park at the adjacent church and things like that, freeing up space within the lots on days that there are large conferences for attendees that are less familiar with the area. Like I mentioned, when we have those large events, which could be up to 30 times a year, we would have a parking shortage of 120 stalls, but on a day-to-day basis, we have a parking surplus of 130 stalls. So we're trying to find a balance, working with off-site locations, so that on a day-to-day, it can operate well without feeling like a sea of parking lot, but then also still functioning properly when we do have large events. I would encourage you all also to listen to the Plan Commission public comment. Charlie Egan from the hotels made comment there. He's the manager and operator of the Holiday Inn and the Fairfield, and he just mentioned, and we would agree, that the event center complements the hotels, which are struggling in this area and in many areas still since COVID. So those are complementary uses. Don't want to take his words exactly, so I encourage you to listen to it if you can, but those are good complementary uses. Thank you for the time, and I'll be available for questions.
Thank you. We are still in public comment. If any other members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Hello, good evening. My name is Stacy Martinelli. I am the owner of the Eloise. It's a wedding and event venue in Mount Horeb. We've been hired on, me and my husband Ben, we've been hired on with FDG to help them with the consultation process with their design and getting the building up and running. The goal would be for us to be running it, so there is an experienced event venue owner that would be running this. I'd just like to give you a little insight of our venue as well. We've started in 2020, and since then we've had the privilege of hosting hundreds of events. Our max capacity at the Eloise is 250, and our parking lot holds 100 cars. And that also includes, within that parking lot, it is space for like catering and other vendors as well. We've done hundreds of events. Mainly we do weddings, but I also can speak on what it's like to host big community events as well. Within our parking lot, we've never felt the pressure that we were over full for our parking lot. And again, we do hold 250 people at our weddings and events. Just from taking some comments that we received from the previous meeting last week, I just want to address one of the questions about shuttling. We do have shuttling recommendations at the Eloise, and we would continue to implement that at the community and event center with Sugar Creek Commons. One of the recommendations that we would be putting in is for shuttling at when we hit a capacity or guest count of 150, shuttling would be required for that event, and that would be for weddings. Once we get into like more of corporate events, we would do a shuttling recommendation or a requirement at 100 people. Those are things that you can add into the language of your contracts to enforce. And like Connor has mentioned before with the partnership of the hotel, I know he is very eager for that partnership and that business. And we've already talked about like a shuttling process with him as well, kind of in that planning phase. So I am here, me and my husband are here for any questions that you may have regarding that, or again, how the experience is with how we run our event venue as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We are still in public comment, so if anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one else approaching the microphone, we will move on to item 5, which is approval of the minutes from the June 24th, 2024 Common Council meeting. Questions, comments, corrections, or motions to approve? Alder Tucker Long.
Move to approve.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Homke. Last chance for corrections. Alder Lytle.
One correction. I think we don't show Alderperson Kimmett as present in the list, so want to make sure, since she was still officially an alder at that point, be good to list that there.
Gotcha. I don't think we need to change the motion for that because that was probably the understanding of both the motioner and the seconder. Okay. Another last chance for corrections. Seeing no further hands, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the June 24th, 2024 Common Council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 6, which is mayor's business. First up, we have the appointment of Alder Patrick Lytle to the Joint Planning Commission. With Alder Kimmett's resignation to move out of the country, we had an open spot on the JRB, which is the City Town Joint Review Board. And since Patrick, or Alder Lytle, I should say, spent a lot of time on the Planning Commission, I thought he'd be a natural fit. So if someone would like to make a motion to confirm him to that position, that would be great.
I'd make a motion to appoint Alder Lytle to the Joint Planning Commission.
Motion by Alder Humke, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Posey. I think Alder Posey was first. Motion before the body. Discussion on the motion. Seeing no hands, all those in favor of approving the appointment of Patrick Lytle to the Joint Planning Commission, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Congratulations to Alder Lytle. Next, we'll move on to the appointment of the District 2 alderperson. As you can see in your packet, we have 3 potential candidates, and I see at least 2 in the audience, so I would invite each applicant to come up and give a brief, like 3 to 5 minutes maybe closer to 3 minutes, sort of overview of your candidacy and why you should be picked, and then if alders have questions, they'll ask questions. Sure. We should have drawn lots.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to the council for this opportunity to address you all. I'm Dennis Beers, live on 770 Aspen Avenue. Lived there for 34 years, I believe. So I wanted to make sure that there was a good pool of candidates for you to choose from. It's always better to have a couple of viewpoints or more. I'd like to see more challenged elections than just, rolling things over, but one step at a time. I think, Brandon, you had an election. I have many years of public service in Verona. I was 15 years on school board. Worked intimately with city council and city officials on many of the planning issues that we had to deal with. I was on the Intergovernmental Council committee, I should say, and that entailed Fitchburg and town and city. So I was familiar with a lot of the issues and a lot of the things that are done now. So my skills in that area, perhaps since the mayor retired me in 2018, I have probably not paid quite as much attention as I used to, but I'm fairly conversant in the various developments around town. I've worked with councils that had very diverse opinions, and we worked together collaboratively to come up with consensus and try to keep emotions down and acrimony out of the fray. But it's difficult, the job that you all have. If you're lucky, you got half the people that like what you did. So I certainly appreciate that. And I'm not undaunted by asking again to come in and serve. But I feel I can offer something that another viewpoint, diversity of viewpoint is also important. And it's something that I can bring with the experience that I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Beers? Not. I guess you're getting off easy on this one.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Hi, I'm Brent McHenry. I live at 528 Shandy Street. I also own Postal Connections right across the street here, not down the road. I am going to keep it short and simple. I provided the questions, I answered the questions, I gave my resume, but I think some of the things that kind of I can add to the mix that would be helpful is I have over 20 years in public administration, so everything from city to state government. Most of those roles, I was a department head, so I understand kind of both sides of working in the public eye as well as behind the scenes to balance the really tight budgets that we're going to see or already do see based on closures of TIF districts and things like that. I have an eye on making sure that we're being proactive in how we communicate with the community, and I think that's something that I can bring to the table with my years in communication of helping to get the message out from the council, but also then bringing back the information from our residents on what their concerns are, what we hear, what we don't hear, what we need to change, what we can and can't change. And I feel this is a great opportunity for me to try to step into the community and help learn and grow and develop in a way that can give back to the community that I'm going to live in, you know, till I retire. And so I look forward to the opportunity.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, this came in fairly recently, but Byron Brown, one of the other applicants, could not be here tonight, and he sent an email. If we want to take like a minute real quick to check your inbox and take a look and see what he said. Alder Humke?
Can I ask you can I ask a general question?
Yeah, absolutely.
To both? Just make kind of make a statement and then sort of a just general question as part of that statement?
For the applicants in
For
the
the
room?
applicants?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, they don't have to answer if they
Yeah,
don't feel
that's
like
fine.
it, but
Okay. So I just, you know, the one thing about being an alder, I think is super important to understand, is, and I think all the alders up here have this skill, is to just making sure that you understand that this is an oversight role, and that I really think it's important to impress that the critical thinking skills of this role are really important, and we all bring those skills in different ways, and we have, you know, we bring different experiences to that. So I just want to make sure that you're both committed to making sure that you are understanding that this is an oversight role and that we do have relationships with people in the city, and we want to make sure that we establish positive relationships with those within the community, like our administrative, you know, all of our department heads, but that we also understand that we are overseeing those people and making sure that we understand that we may have to raise flags at times that may be uncomfortable or whatever. Not saying that we have any currently, but just that that has happened in the past. And I just want to make sure that both of you are comfortable being in that position and comfortable doing that. So I'll take the head nods as an affirmative. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. That's all I have to add.
okay. Has everyone had a chance to read through the email? All right. So just to give a quick overview of the process, we'll have the discussion tonight and make the decision tonight. Whoever gets picked will be appointed at the next meeting. They'll be sworn in at the beginning of the next meeting and then take their seat, and they'll be an alder. As you saw probably on the email that was forwarded, the city attorney did say this has to be a voice vote. We can't do it by ballot. So after some discussion, what I plan to do is basically just do a roll call. Everyone says who they pick, and if someone has a majority, then that'll be the appointment. If it's like 3 to 1, then we would eliminate whoever like was in last and then make a decision until somebody has 4 votes. So, and if we end up with somehow with a tie, I don't know what we would do. So, like if one person sat out and it was 3 to 3, I guess we'd be just stuck for a while. That's always an option too, to make an appointment at the next meeting. But anyways, I would open it up for discussion if anyone has any thoughts. Alder Braithwaite.
I would just like to thank the candidates for applying, and thanks for being here tonight. And wasn't quite sure, had fingers crossed, wasn't quite sure how many folks we would get, so I really commend those that stepped up, so thank you.
Alder Posey, I believe.
I'll just speak kind of on my thoughts right now. Honestly, it's a challenging pool for the two who are here. I personally am not going to be looking towards, unfortunately, this evening, sorry, I believe it was Byron. Yeah, Byron, who's not here. But I'm still open to thoughts from others, especially on the other two, but I'm considering my options right now between those two and looking further into the details to make my decision right now.
Alder Humke.
Yeah, I just want to say, as the only person who eventually will get to vote for either of you, I'm the only person on this council that sits in District 2. I really do appreciate both of you putting your names in. I know that in the past it's been difficult. District 2 has had a bunch of turnover, seemingly, and I appreciate the effort that you both put into the answers that you provided. And I do think you both have, different qualities and service that you have provided in the past, and I really appreciate that you have those skills and you're bringing them forward to our community.
Other thoughts from the council? I guess I'll ask a general question. Are people ready to vote? I'm seeing some nods and some no reactions. We can keep talking if people have other thoughts. Alder Lytle.
Since the comments of the other two applicants were and are part of the public record, I'm trying to understand if the email that we just read during the meeting will be something that becomes public record as well. It seems like that can either be published as part of the minutes, or I'm not sure the best way to handle that, but
I think adding to the minutes would make sense, yeah, just for context. I
Right.
mean, technically, of course, because it's an email to a city official, it is a public record regardless, but
right.
I point taken about adding it to the minutes.
so I just an additional comment that Mr. Brown is not known to me personally, but I think he has some great ties to the community, and in the event, for whatever reason, we don't select him for the open spot, we're able to do some outreach to him as openings come up on boards and commissions, and give him an opportunity to, contribute more if that's what he's looking for as a citizen.
Alder Tucker-Long, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Just kind of reading through things. I would say that I really, again, just like everybody's been saying, I really appreciate everybody putting yourself out there. I know it's very scary. I just joined council last year, and it is a scary thing to put your name out there in front of everyone. So super appreciate it. And I think as far as the way I'm looking, I really appreciated sort of the outlook on the city and the focus on communication that Kaiser McHenry brought to the table. I'm a little concerned about just sort of the formatting and structure of the answers that Brown provided. It seemed, I feel like attention to detail is a really, really important skill in the council. And so I feel like that's a really important thing to have. And while it's not the only aspect of someone, it did give me pause, thinking that perhaps details were not attended to in when that was provided, the application was provided to us. So, I don't know, are we allowed to say how we're leaning, or we're just supposed to give comments on?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay,
so.
well, sometimes I put my foot in my mouth, so I want to make sure I'm the right thing. So currently, I'm leaning towards Kaiser McHenry.
Other comments from the council? Alder Posey.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to, I really hope, as everyone has even added, that everybody runs. I think, Mr. Barris brought up making sure that we have a pool of candidates. I know we had our first contested election for a while, and we've been really, I think, lucky's not quite the right term, but we've had a really good format for our council here for the last several years, even without that. But I would really hope that we have more of those opportunities for our citizens to choose who's sitting up here for them. So please make sure that even if you're not selected tonight, because I've been through this a couple times, and sometimes we see people here, and I'm really hoping that they're going to run, and then they aren't there in April. So I really hope that that occurs.
Alder Helmke, then Alder Tucker-Long.
Okay, I will enter my sort of leanings as well. So for me, I think I look at question 6 as being kind of like, what are we looking towards? What is our future that we're trying to create together? And I liked sort of the more in-depth vantage point of what Mr. Kaiser McHenry was looking towards. It just provided more detail. I mean, I align with the sustainability, public safety, the downtown space, and especially the housing options. I just think that that's kind of how my values align better, and it just was in more detail. So it just got more of a sense of kind of where he's headed, where his mind is headed. And I'm, Mr. Beards it just wasn't as robust. That's probably kind of what it came down to for me. And unfortunately for Mr. Brown, I would say, yeah, I agree with Alder Tucker-Long. Like this role is, it is a job. We get paid to do it, and the people that we represent, trust us to look at details and be public-facing in a way that would represent the city, and I just felt like the answers were not robust enough for me to actually get a sense of how he actually thinks about the things, and since he's not here, I really can't ask him further questions, so I was hoping to be able to do that.
Alder Tucker-Long.
Just piggybacking off of what Alder Posey was saying, for the people who are here and for anyone who's listening at home, if anybody has questions about running for council, Holly is an invaluable resource. She was amazing helping me when I was running. But also, if you have questions, email me. I'm happy to answer questions about running and would love to see more people running.
Other thoughts from the council? Alder Lytle.
So I want to be fair about this. There was a question I was hoping to pose to Mr. McHenry, specific to the materials presented.
Yeah.
So I see that you're involved both full-time with your small business, adjunct with UW-Platteville, and then Madison College as well. And I know from Fitrona EMS, you're on at least one other public commission. How are you feeling about the various ways you're going to be spread and your ability to add this to your plate along with everything else?
An excellent question. For the business, I have a full-time manager, so I'm really not engaged there more than once or twice a week, day to day. And that's intentional because I want to be out in the community, working with clients and constituents. But I also found that having a general manager that lives in the community, he lives 2 blocks from the community, he can then engage in the community in a way that I would want to. So that is not a huge concern. My adjunct teaching is very sporadic, depending on class load and how many students apply and how many. So Platteville, I teach primarily at the Baraboo campus, which is unfortunately slowly dying away, so my class load will be probably pretty light. And then at Madison College, I'm more of a fill-in now. I was full-time there before I took my job at the City of Middleton, but City of Middleton is an 8 to 4. I have a backup PIO should something come up on a meeting night where I can't be available, and that person would take over. So I feel like it's a good fit for me and the time that I have on evenings and weekends to kind of work through the community. I think it'll fill my schedule nicely, and I don't have children, and I don't, have a lot of outside activities beyond work and being engaged in the community, so I think it'll be a good fit for me.
Other thoughts from the council? Alder Posey.
Thanks for letting me go again. I do think I am leaning towards Mr. Barris. I do keep coming back to that. I think the history and knowledge that you would bring and the perspective that you bring, and I made a couple notes here as you were speaking, and one of them was keeping the emotions down and the acrimony at bay. And I think that's something we've worked really hard to do when we've had public comments or situations that have caused a lot of fervor in the community, that we've worked really hard to make sure that we continue to have a respectful community here. So not that you wouldn't do that, but that is the way that I'm leaning tonight.
Other thoughts from the council? I guess I'll ask again. Do people feel ready to vote? All right, I'm seeing more nods than before. All right, if Clerk Lick would be so kind as to read the roll, we'll just go down the list and then see how it goes.
Braithwaite,
To clarify, I see my vote.
Yeah, just whoever you're voting for.
Kaiser McHenry.
Harrison,
Kaiser McHenry.
Helmke,
Kaiser McHenry.
Hoaxed,
Mr. McHenry.
Lytle,
Mr. McHenry.
Posey,
Barris.
and Tucker Long.
Kaiser McHenry.
All right, Kaiser McHenry had 6 votes and Bears had 1.
All right. Thank you to all 3 candidates for stepping forward. Mr. Kaiser McHenry will be sworn in at the next meeting. And with that, we will move on to item 7, which is announcements. Any announcements from the council? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to item 8, which is the administrator's report. Mr. Alec.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I am the messenger, so please don't shoot me. And as usual, I'm conveying messages from staff in this particular case. Our communications manager, Mara, would like to let you know that tonight, the alders and mayor are transitioning over to the new domain. Okay, so that's going to happen overnight. In the morning, log in.
What, you mean email, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what-
email.
Okay, just so we're all clear.
Yes, sorry. This is why the administrator should not be giving this report. So it's all good. Thank you, Mayor. So yes, an email for city-based email. Tomorrow morning, please log in, or tomorrow, next time, but not tonight. Log in with your new username, which is your first initial, last name, at veronawi.gov. So first initial, last name at veronawi.gov. I found just a little pro tip here. Log out of your old account and then log in with that new username and password, or username. And then your password will remain the same as it was. You will continue, again, as I mentioned last time, to receive email from your old account. That will be indefinite. That'll be forever. But anyway, just letting you know that. And that is it. If you run into a snag or anything when you're logging in, either feel free to email me or Mara, and we'll get you tech support and get you figured out. So, okay.
Alder Tucker Long.
Do you know if our emails are going to be migrated over, or do we need to do that? Okay.
Yes, they are migrated over. Yes. Good question. Thank you.
Alder Posey.
Was it verona.wi.gov? Just
Verona,
verona.wi.gov?
Yep. Correct.
Thank you.
It will be simpler and easier, I think, to remember.
Yes, I agree.
Any other questions for Mr. Alec? Seeing no,
Oh, I've got other reports.
yeah,
too,
go ahead.
If that's okay. Just and I know I sent this out to the council, but for the public, there is a tentative grand opening of Century School Park, which is located in the 400 block on the south side of the street on West Verona Avenue. Next Thursday, so next week, Thursday, July 18th. We're continuing with all the rain to have problems with the sod taking hold. So let's knock on some wood for dry weather here. And hopefully by that time, it'll be all seeded properly and take root. So again, tentatively, depending on the weather, we'll do a ribbon cutting at 5:15 on July 18th. And the concert would begin at 5:30 that night as well. If it doesn't work out, we'll make sure to let all of you and the public know we have a different date for the opening. But we absolutely do want to do an opening. It's a beautiful, beautiful gem of a park. It's going to be well served for the Verona residents for many years to come. So it's going to be a very nice addition. And one last one, just what goes on in the background and you turn on your water and you get water coming out of it. Alliant had a transformer fry on one of our booster station, which serves Cathedral Point, the woods at Cathedral Point, and the tech and business parks. So that's the southeast zone. And it's, of course, Sunday. They got it kind of sort of patched up, and then it blew again. So they were in midnight Sunday into Monday troubleshooting all of that equipment. And so Scott and Austin with our water department, humble people, just went and did their jobs. But Director Wozak wanted to make sure that, a lot of this work goes on in the background. You don't see it, but it's something that's extremely important, obviously, to when you turn on your water, that water comes out. So anyway, just want to let you know that as well, Mr. Mayor, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions now for Mr. Aulick? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to the engineer's report. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. Just a few updates on the development side. For the Verona Ice Arena addition, that was final inspected last week, and so the permit is now closed, which means that the site has reached at least 70% site stabilization. And then for the high school parking lot expansion at the Verona High School, construction started the week of June 24th. So that is just a small parking lot expansion off of Wildcat Way and Victory Lane. There's 2 small parking lots there. With that, I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Fisher? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to item 10, which is committee reports. First up, we have 10A, Finance Committee. Alder Honke.
Yes, I make a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $857,288.03.
Motion by Alder Honke. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Alder Posey. Alder Honke.
Yeah, so we have payment in the amount of $291,551 to AECom Engineering for various projects, many of which are billed back to Epic. We have $48,011 to Middleton Motors for electric pickup trucks for the parks. We have $200,969 to Parisi Construction for the East View Road project.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion to pay the bills? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from Finance?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. We'll move on to 10B, which is Plan Commission. Alder Posey.
Thank you. I'd like to bring for discussion possible action an initial review of a 112-unit apartment building and 200-person event center located at 509 West Verona Avenue. Sorry. Do you want me to go into the rest?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. No. Sorry, moved between too many pages. The applicant submitted a proposal to the Plan Commission for a 112-unit apartment building and a 200-person event center. Plan Commission discussed the proposal at their July 1st, 2024 meeting. Comments from the Plan Commission included overall support for the use and design, with a minority of the commission objecting to the lack of parking. The design was seen as a positive and an improvement over the previous approved design from 2019. The applicant is seeking approval of the project as a plan development. Exceptions are needed for building height, parking deficiency, and flexibility in use. The Plan Commission was supportive of the exception to allow an apartment building at grade, given the event center occupying a majority of the frontage along West Verona Avenue, rather than the apartment building. The parking exception was supported by a majority of the Plan Commission, as long as formal agreements are in place to share parking with neighboring properties, including the use of hotel shuttles. A minority of the Plan Commission expressed concern with the parking, especially as it related to future parking needs as uses change over time. Concern was also stated for potential noise impacts given the proximity of the event center to residences. Reducing the density of residential units and increasing the separation between the event center and residences would help to reduce the concerns.
Thank you. This is, of course, a feedback only thing for standard initial review thing. So I guess I would invite comments from the Common Council. Alder Humke.
I would like to ask some questions of the, actually, the first one is of Stacy. I was curious if you could explain to me the shuttling, like what you mean by shuttling. I get the concept, I think, for weddings, because people maybe are coming from different hotels, but if you could elaborate on that, and also for a corporate event where people might not, if everybody lives in the area, can you explain like where are you shuttling from and how that would all work?
So, so with shuttling with like a wedding, it typically takes place like at the hotel, or there's like a central location. It typically, again, is at the hotel. We work with a hotel like right in town in Mount Horeb, and so a lot of our guests, couples guests, they do stay at that hotel and they shuttle them to our venue. We do have incidences where the couple wants to do a downtown like Madison stay, and with that then they'll use like Badger Bus, Galliant Night. There's a lot of like private shuttle companies that will do, again, like a central location. It's typically at the hotel, and then they just shuttle from the venue and then back to that hotel. There's really specific times that they'll work with when you do like we call it like personal shuttling. Like if you use like Badger Bus or Galliant Night or any of those, it's kind of like you set the schedule and then they'll take over. When we work with a hotel, they have like structured times that they'll come back and pick people up and shuttle it. So there's usually like 2 shuttle runs before a couple ceremony. They'll then start resuming their shuttle service then like after like a dance. And then they'll run like every hour, typically. When it comes to corporate events, we do work with other corporate clients as well, and they are shuttling from the corporate location. They work again with like Badger Bus, Galliant Night, like those bigger transportation companies throughout the area, and they'll structure it where their employees are picked up at the corporate location or the business, and then they're shuttled into our event venue, and then they're shuttled back to the business. With our event venue, I'll just give you like an example. Like we do work with corporate clients that the capacity is larger than what we host for weddings. We cap weddings at 250, but for corporate events, if we're just doing like like they're just seating in chairs like this, we can host more. And with that, we know we cannot hold that much. We're really honest and clear about that. Like, hey, you're going to have to shuttle. And that's what we see is where they're picking them up from the business.
That is super helpful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
That's the only question I have for her. I think, can I ask a question about, okay. I'm curious, and so it was a question that I had, and then I did listen to the Planning Commission meeting because I think it was super helpful, and I would encourage other people to do the same. am curious from the developer about the easements. A commissioner asked this question as well, and I think I need some more clarification. Like if my thought was, well, what if Sugar River, the church decides like, oh, we have a wedding the same day and we can't accommodate your parking, and that's parking that you're relying upon? Or somebody, one of the commissioners also said, like, what if the property changes hands and all of a sudden, they're like, sorry, we're not going to do this anymore with you? Is that going to, how are you going to navigate that? And I'm also curious about the St. Benny's situation, because I'm concerned that if they're not going to have an agreement, you're going to have an agreement with everybody else and not them, that they're going to be calling the police asking for people to be towed or whatever. And I really don't want that to happen. But I understand that, I went in on Saturday to drop something off at St. Benny's, and the parking lot was full. So I get why they don't want to do it to some degree. But in the evenings when it wasn't in use or whatever, is there workability with them, I guess?
So I guess we're starting with the last one with St. Vincent de Paul. I've talked to them multiple times, and at this time, due to how busy they are, up until, I can't remember if they close at 7 or 8 p.m., they're not interested in working with us. If someone has a good working relationship and is willing to, kind of help along that conversation, open to it. But at this time, due to how busy their parking lot is, that's not something that they've been extremely open to. Several years ago when it was a hotel, they were. I think things have just kind of changed since then for them. Length of contract, that's something that we still need to specify. Typically, what we've been trying to do is look for a term of like 5 to 10 years that would have a period of negotiation again, that we could set another 5 to 10 years. Why do a length of term like that rather than 50 years? It's hard to predict what compensation should be. If for some reason this is a really popular thing where we really need their parking, that would raise the value of the shared parking. If we never need it, then all of that changes the negotiation as well. So we're trying to look for a horizon period that makes sense. And for that period of time, that agreement would run with the land, as it's called, where if it was to go to somebody else, then they would be responsible for respecting that parking easement that would be with it. I think there was one other question in there. Now I don't know if I can quite remember what that last one
So
piece
I think
was.
that it was like if the church has, a
the
large
events.
parking lot,
Yeah.
right? So if they have a wedding that's not related to the wedding that you're hosting, let's say, right? Like, would you be relying on theirs? Like, does this easement agreement, is that above any other event that they're having, or how does that work?
Good question. And so by working with the hotels and the church, if we're able to execute on both of those, we're about double what we would need. So if for any particular reason one of the locations doesn't work, then we wouldn't be able to use that location. And we're planning kind of event by event, specifically marketing certain locations for parking if needed. If we can say all of them can be used, that's great. But if we knew for some reason that there was a wedding at the church that's unrelated to the wedding at the event center, we wouldn't market that as an opportunity. The one kicker would be a funeral or something like that. That's more unexpected. So we would need to work out specifics if something unexpected like that came out. But again, that's why we're trying to have multiple locations to provide some flexibility.
I think that's all the questions I have. Can I make
Yeah,
comments?
absolutely.
Okay. So I really appreciate, I'm glad I watched the video, because I think it was really important to hear from the hotel owners that this is a really important space that we can have for our community. I generally am in favor of it. I do think that this is a value add. There aren't spaces, it's been said over and over, there aren't spaces like this, and there's a demand for this. We want to bring people into our community. I am very appreciative that there is a locally run, experienced, operators, that we have somebody who knows what they're doing in this type of venue, in proximity to our community, right, that you're familiar with our community. I appreciate the shuttling and the busing and figuring out the parking situation. It does make me nervous. This is new, but I think times change, and we also have to change and adapt. And an urban setting, I think of Madison, but, we're growing and trying to figure out ways that we can bring people in and not create more concrete slabs. We're using the concrete slabs that we have. is important, right? We just want to be environmentally sustainable, and concrete is not in that direction. So to the extent that we can be mindful of that, I'm just trying to get my arms around that, and looking at, as best I can, the work that was done for parking. I am also kind of just curious with, I think my comments, like, we know that those spaces aren't fully filled. The bogey factory is there, which is exciting. There's other space for future businesses. How might that impact it? I think that was considered, but without knowing what that looks like. And I know people take the path of least resistance when they're going to park. So I am, again, going to say that I'm, St. Benny's, I don't want them to have problems. So to the extent that if this move forward, that you really are super diligent about making sure that you honor that with them, and that we don't have problems that we have to get the police involved in to take up that resource that's really precious. And I heard, so the parking was the biggest thing from the commissioners, and then the acoustics. So I am curious if there's any flexibility there with the acoustics in terms of, I think they talked about, making more space to make, having apartments next to a venue is different than having a hotel next to a venue. These people are going to have to do this all the time, and that, we just want to make sure we're mindful of the people that live there. But, I'm looking at the pictures and the layouts, and it looks really lovely, so I like the work that has been put into this. It's exciting for our community. In general, I would agree with what the Planning Commission said. It's like, in general, I think I'm excited about this and moving forward and seeing ways we can best make this happen that works for everybody.
Other feedback from the council? Alder Posey.
I'm overall in support of having this. I do like the fact, I know the Plan Commission, I was not able to be there, but they did speak about the size of the event center. That 200 number seems to be a nice sweet spot between the larger one that had initially been proposed and the smaller one we had recently seen. I think that 200 number, I also found that the renderings that were provided, I'm assuming maybe you helped with getting some of that in there, really helped to be able to visualize what 200 people looks like in that space and how it can work for an event space, because I really do think it will help to activate that area in some of our quieter hours. Because if you drive down this side of town when school's not in session or people are out of work, it is peaceful. It's as if there was never a high school built and there was never Epic built. It is so quiet. And so I think this will help to activate it and maybe even bring some of those additional businesses into some of those empty spaces. As far as the parking, I am highly concerned about the St. Vincent de Paul side, because people will just park. Having worked in a business where the high school overflowed, there was literally, we had to cancel appointments one day because the high school didn't have the additional parking that they needed, and people just filled up wherever they could, and it caused impacts to the businesses that were there. So I think something has to be figured out there. I think as a city, we all know that parking has to get figured out. Because even, if something's going on, let's say we have this brand new beautiful park, some event is going on in the park at Century Park, well, guess what? They're going to spread out down towards your parking that you've already got agreements about, and people are just going to go there. It's not because that church space is empty, they're going to park there. We see it with hometown days, with parades and things like that, they just fill it in. So just be prepared that we need something in agreement on that St. Vincent de Paul, because your folks are just going to fill it in. So hopefully that won't run into an issue. And I do think that as a city, we have to, as part of our, comprehensive plan discussions we'll be having in the next couple months and years, address parking as part of what we do. But I also really, really appreciate all the work with the traffic studies side and the parking study side, because that really helped to give us the information we needed to feel a little bit more comfortable. So, yeah, overall, good job. Thank you.
Alder Hoagst.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I know for once. No, no, but I appreciate it. The question, parking, right, is a question that I know from my business in Fitchburg, we had a shared parking agreement with a different tenant that I will not name, and it did not go well. And we have suffered for many years, and it was not good. So I just want to make sure that we have something that is in writing, that's enforceable, that you can use, because we were led to believe one thing, and gates were built to keep us out of a parking lot that could have fit 200 people. And it didn't go well. And like Alder Posey said, I mean, people are going to park wherever, right? We see it all the time. They just show up and they park there. Maybe we have discussions about, I mean, I understand just me saying like dig a hole deeper and put 2 layers of parking in, but maybe we have discussions in the city about doing something like that so we don't make more, but we go down. So I mean, certainly I think, I like the plan. I think it's good. We'll see how the folks that rent next to the event center feel, but certainly parking. I think that's my biggest holdup is where do we put them with all the new development we have on that side of town with the park, you know, and certainly with St. Vinny's not being on board. I don't know. I think we can certainly come up with some ideas maybe. I don't want to spend the city's money, but we can open discussions up.
Other feedback from the council? Alder Braithwaite and then Alder Tucker Long.
Yeah, most of my feedback's going to relate to, I'm not sure if my page numbers match your page numbers, but it's the site plan and the grading plan. So in general, I'm in favor of this development. I think it's brings some amenities, it brings more housing, and it brings the event center that Verona needs. I think the plan is close. I think we could do some tweaks, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of those tweaks that I see from a site perspective. Sorry. And one of those that kind of jumped out to me when I was reviewing these plans is Building E, the proposed garage. To me, it kind of sticks out and it kind of takes up a lot of space. And so I would encourage you to see if there'd be a way to move that into your underground parking. I'm sure that's already been talked about and probably negated for some particular reason that I might not understand right now. But from what I understand of the intended use of that garage, if it's to keep your equipment at the ready, to keep your to keep JSD's vehicles equipped and out of the elements, I wonder if there's a way that that same purpose could be achieved by the underground parking. And that could be in any of the buildings, for example, kind of along with that. And so I'm not familiar, and I wasn't on this council when the other buildings were developed, but I believe their business is a Building B. Maybe there's a way to shuffle some residents or shuffle some parking or extend the footprint of the underground parking of Building A to accommodate that garage underground. So that's one possible tweak that I see that might allow you some more flexibility on the site. Another possible tweak I see is the underground parking entrance on the south side of the property. However, the main resident entrance is on the east side of the property, but those are the parking stalls that are going to fill up first when there's event or event associated preparations, planners coming in, caterers, even just meeting with future event bookings. And so I see the underground parking where the majority of the residents would enter in a car situation versus the main entrance of the building residence itself kind of at odds. And so I would encourage you to look at I would encourage you to look at how those could align so that we could keep the parking closest to the event center and to the main entrance to the event center together, and the residential parking more aligned. And so whether that means moving the main entrance of the residence to the south or moving the garage entrance to maybe the east face that juts out, the event center folks are going to park in the surface. That's where they're going to look first. And I want to make that accessible to them and not have to, necessarily wrap around the building. And then, quite honestly, if I wasn't familiar with this and I'd be looking for a parking space and I see the garage, I'd get a little bit more confused and feel like I'm not, that's not, maybe I'm getting farther away from the event center. So I would encourage you to look at the site as a whole. Right now, it's got, these kind of 3 shared components: the event center, the residential building, and the garage. I think the garage is the most flexible of those, in my opinion. And then I think there's ways that the event center could work a little bit separately on the site versus the residence. Now, I heard the comments about Plan Commission about if the buildings should actually be separated or not. I don't know if I would need to go that far. I don't really know what that would gain, except from maybe a sound situation. But the way the event center set up, music, amplified speakers, whatever, would be farthest kind of from the resident, and there'd be a firewall and everything too. So let's see, look at my notes. I also am a little bit concerned about the drop-off loop. Obviously, that's made for quick drop-offs, but, in the event of bad weather, in the event of, hey, we're going to this event center that we know that parking might be a challenge anyway, I'm going to drop the rest of my family off, and then I'm going to go look for parking. I think that drop-off zone could become overly relied upon. And if that's the case, if we're looking at concerns about potentially backing up into Verona Avenue or just not being used in the way you might envision it being used, it just might become overused, especially, a family of 4 going to a wedding. Hey, I'm going to drop the wife and kids off, and then I've just added to the clutter of the site and kind of negated what the shuttle was trying to solve in the first place. So I encourage you to look at that. And along with that, adjacent to the drop-off zone, there's a couple of ADA parking stalls noted. And to me, it looks a little light on number of stalls because the parking in general is light on the number of stalls. And so this may be a situation where we need to design the ADA parking as if the event center was full, knowing that we'd have to provide ADA parking for the event center versus just for the residents, or just versus the ratio of what we need for the number of stalls. So if you're looking at an event that held 200 people, chances are you would need more than 2 ADA parking, and then the next available would be at the next buildings, which is not convenient for the folks attending the events. So a lot of my questions just are kind of feedback, I guess, kind of revolve around site flow. And so I think there's ways that could be enhanced and not kind of pin us in a situation that we might regret in the future. And then, obviously, I share the same concerns, too, about St. Vincent de Paul. I think potentially there could be some solutions regarding or using landscaping or using a fence or something to, clearly distinguish the 2 sites so that a person coming from out of town attending an event or just visiting a friend that happens to live in building A, oh, that's the building right there. Hey, no, St. Vincent's is this property. Visitor parking is this other property. As far as parking as a whole, I think you've provided some creative solutions. I think the type of event will also offer other solutions that and we'll learn in this. We made, like you said, a wedding might be a certain type of shuttle situation with a certain ratio of people coming from out of town that would use hotel shuttles. A corporate event might be shuttled from a different location. There might be ways to use other city amenities or the park and ride, or I think those creative solutions are going to continue to evolve. So I don't want to limit our creativity by jamming all the stalls in here as we can, just to get closer to that X number that the ordinance says. I think the point of this development is to have an urban event center. In my mind, I don't see this as all that dissimilar from like the Lone Girl Brewing Company in Wanakee, where you have, a large venue right in a downtown setting with a balcony that has live music. Or I could certainly envision this, a facility like this in Milton, which feels denser in areas than Verona. So I think, I'll sum up because I can get long-winded. I think you're on the right track. I think there could be some improvements around the edges. I think you might find some good feedback from your current residents. And then obviously you have event expertise on your staff. So I think as a whole, I support this concept. And I think we can get to a point where we feel like we're really behind it.
Alder Tacarlon.
I just wanted to say I love the idea of an event center in Verona. We are desperately lacking one, and I would encourage you to make sure that it's an accessible venue for non-wedding events as well, because I know there's a lot of different events that have wanted to be in Verona, but there's just no place. I'm very excited that you have slightly more than the requirement of underground parking for the apartments, because I think there's a lot of two-car households out there, and I think underground parking is just such a wonderful benefit for apartment dwellers. I know I loved it when I lived in my apartment, so I think that's great. I'm not too concerned about the parking in general, but I definitely think, making sure there's plans in place. I think it might help, with the apartment facing St. Vinny's and the event center on the other side. That'll help sort of separate that a little bit for people, especially if it's very clear that the event center is not the same as the apartments. Then I think it'll register for the public more that like, oh, this is a different entity. And so parking behind an apartment building wouldn't necessarily seem as easy, I guess, as, parking adjacent to the event center itself. I love all the windows, but definitely want to make sure that, I know glass can not always baffle the sound as well. I'm in huge favor of natural light, though. That's fantastic. So I love all the windows, but definitely want to make sure we're not bothering the residents. So, especially of the existing apartment buildings where the event center would probably be pointed at a little bit more. So, awesome. Thank you.
Alder Lytle.
Yeah, I think you've gotten plenty of feedback. I would offer one specific comment. The company I work for, similar to JSD in some respects, based in the Southeast, we always struggle with this when it comes to Class A office space for our employees that are client-facing and need office, as well as finding space for our field crews to load in and out of. I'm pretty sure when this came through the last time affiliated with the hotel, I provided the comment when I was a member of Plan Commission that I feel JSD's pain, but I really think Building E is just one more complication to the site that makes things tougher than they need to be. Recognizing that JSD and FDG have been planning this whole area from the get-go, I'm struggling to understand why JSD wasn't able to find another option for what they're wanting to use Building E for. So strongly concerned about keeping Building E for JSD survey crews. I feel like it's just one more type of use that we're trying to squeeze into this building that unnecessarily complicates things. So would continue to encourage them to look at other options for where they might be able to put their vehicles and supplies for their field crews.
Other feedback? Alder Posey.
I actually have kind of an important side note. We do have an event space in Verona, so that everybody is aware, because we keep talking about this like it's brand new, it's the only one, and I just want to make sure, in case anybody's listening out there, that we do have one out in that Sugar Creek pizza area. So I'll just say that, and just, but still, everything I said earlier, excited to have this in that downtown area space. Thank you.
Other feedback from the council? I'll just call it myself real quick and give you an abbreviated version of my comments in the Plan Commission. I do think, you know, if people park further away and walk, I think it becomes incumbent upon the city to make sure our sort of game when it comes to making the city walkable needs to be high. So that's something I think for city staff. I guess I would also note that just scanning through the different zoning uses, that an event center is conditional use in every zoning district. So if they had to get a conditional use permit, I think the city would be, I'm not an attorney, but I think we'd be in bounds to basically just say you have to have a shared parking agreement as a condition of operating, because otherwise I'm not sure how it's going to work. But in general, I think this is a good project. I think it'll be a good addition for the city, and I really think, you know, the public comment at Plan Commission really swung it for me, you know, kind of being on the fence a little bit to saying, all right, there's a clear demand for this, and we should be open and see if it can happen. So I definitely look forward to hearing more. Any other comments from the council? All right, I think we've covered that item. Alder Posey, anything further from Plan Commission?
Nothing further.
Excellent. With that, we'll move on to item 11, which is new business. First up, we have 11A, a discussion and possible action regarding a memorandum of understanding between the City of Verona and the Verona Professional Police Association and Wisconsin Professional Police Association /LEAR regarding vacation time. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mayor. This MOU authorizes the Chief of Police to extend vacation time for lateral transfer sworn police officers commensurate with the employee's experience. I have a couple of little add-ons here. This issue has been hanging around in the background in the recent past at least a couple of times. One was during the last round of negotiations on the contract. I'm told this issue came up, and for whatever reason, I wasn't privy to those discussions. It wasn't included. And it also cropped up in April when if you remember, the last City Council passed 2 resolutions as one of their last acts as a council. They were intent resolutions, and they dealt with retention and recruitment bonuses, and also sick leave transfer, or sick leave grants for experienced law enforcement officers. And at the time, they raised this issue, and because the resolutions didn't include vacation, I chose to do say, hey, the resolution says it's for sick leave and for bonuses. Let's get these through, and then we can address this issue as a standalone issue later on. So that's kind of why this is the way that it is, structurally speaking. So anyway, obviously Chief Dresser's here, and our HR manager, Mitch, is also here to answer any specific questions related to this. And that's what I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions on this item?
Can I add a little bit to it?
Absolutely. Chief Dresser.
So essentially, this is cleanup to the existing contract that exists with the WPPA. It is past practice that we have been doing for years and years, and it was brought to our attention by the union that they support what we do, but it's not supported by the contract. And so they asked that we engage in this MOU just to basically update our practice with what the contract says. And frankly, without this, we would have a very difficult time attracting qualified applicants. Every applicant we've had where we're trying to bring them in from another agency, the biggest hiccup is benefits. And so if we cannot offer them vacation time, it's definitely going to hamstring our ability to get those qualified applicants.
Thank you for that addition. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Tucker Long.
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Verona and the Verona Professional Police Association and the Wisconsin Professional Police Association /Lear regarding vacation time.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Humke. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Humke.
I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward. I think this is just one more step in making sure that we have the ability to negotiate fully and bring in quality candidates, which has been an issue. And it's been great to see the candidates we have been able to bring in recently, and we hope that that continues. So thank you.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Alder Posey.
I have a quick question. I may have asked this as we were discussing this before, but just for clarification, so with less than 5 years' experience, they're being given 96 hours of sick time upon hire. Is that generally what they may already have if they're a good officer and at another institution, or are we giving them a benefit that's above in order to attract them?
Typically, they're losing some sick time, and that's part of the incentive, is that if they've worked for another community and they've been banking sick time, it's hard for them to walk away from, that bank that they've accumulated. And so what we did with that portion of it, and that part's already been addressed and is already part of the union through a separate MOU, but we did at least incentivize it so they get at least a week of vacation, or if they have enough years of experience, they get of sick time, they get 2 weeks. And so, but prior to that, they didn't get anything. And so again, it was difficult for a qualified applicant to make the decision to leave everything with their former agency to come to us. And this is helpful.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other thoughts on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Verona and the Verona Professional Police Association and Wisconsin Professional Police Association /Lear regarding vacation time signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to a discussion and possible action regarding the Public Works Director Employment Agreement. As you all know, we are attempting to hire a new Public Works Director. And we have reached a point in contract negotiations where staff needs to bring the issue to the council to decide what to do going forward. Does anyone have any questions for open session? With that, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Alder Posey.
I'd like to make a motion to move into closed session for discussion and possible action regarding the Public Works Director Employment Agreement. The Common Council may convene in a closed session for discussion and possible action regarding a Public Works Director Employment Agreement as authorized by Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C of the Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee subject to the jurisdiction or authority of the City of Verona. The Common Council may reconvene in open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Alder Tucker Long. This is, of course, a roll call vote. If Clerk would read the roll.
Alderperson Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderperson Harrison.
Aye.
Alderperson Humke.
Aye.
Alderperson Hoax.
Aye.
Alderperson Lytle.
Aye.
Alderperson Posey.
Aye.
Alderperson Tucker Long.
Aye.
That will be in closed session as soon as we're off the air on YouTube. Okay. All right, it is, okay, yeah, it is 9:19 PM, and we are back in open session. We had a long discussion, and we will know more in the next few days. And then we will, I guess, make an announcement. With that, I will move on to item 12, which is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Alder Hoax, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we're adjourned at 9:19 PM. Thank you, everyone.